right. Happy Friday. Hello and welcome. I just wanted to hop on here and do a quick another pre-work musing. It's an exciting time. I mean, yeah, we've got the election coming up. There's a bunch of turmoil around that. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we are okay regardless of who wins. Like, that's one of the biggest things. Is like, because love him or hate him, Trump won that one time. And a lot of people freaked out. And I know Colbert, like, the entire time Trump was president, was just ripping on him and, making fun of him and all this. And, a lot of it reasonably so. He did some boneheaded moves, but like not enough of the good things that Donald did, and I will keep calling him Donald because all he does is call Kamala Comrade Kamala, so it's not even like using the first name with her. And I don't know, and I think that's a big thing with communication. Like we're now on a first name basis with a lot of places. Like I work with a lot of professors and people that should be given a lot of respect. Like they've spent many years, if not decades, in their fields. Like then that's what they do. That's their focus. And whenever somebody does something as their main career or focus, they can't help but be very knowledgeable about it. Although that doesn't mean everybody is that way, but people, the way that people act, like, what do you do during your day? Oh, I don't know. I spend 8 hours doing something. Well, you do that 5 days a week for years. You're going to be pretty good at that something, whatever it is. So, and I think the biggest thing that people are finding out, and like with the whole shift from COVID, is there is a ramp up time, and a good manager will understand this and be like, okay, well, we'll let a few things slide. Like maybe they show up late a couple of days, or maybe they aren't dressed all that presentable or whatever. And that's like part of the hardships of, having to be in an office every day is it's part of those opportunity costs. Like, okay, well, if I'm commuting to the office, then what am I giving up? And like a lot of people don't realize, or maybe they do, but there's nothing they can do about it, is there's the commuting time, which normally used to be all on the person's personal expense. Like it was up to you to get here at this time and then you work until this time. But now places are starting to be a little more relaxed, be like, actually, or even just working from home. That cuts the commute time to zero because all you got to do is wake up and roll out of bed, maybe brush your teeth, maybe take a shower, have your breakfast, and be ready to work and doing things by the time you need to be there. And I remember when I was briefly a software developer for this company, and it was a great company, don't get me wrong. Like, it was just more of the situation and the circumstance. But I remember my manager telling me that, like, well, we want you to be in your desk and ready to work by this time. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of lame. Like, I'm here in the building by the time, and usually and it makes sense from the management side, but then from the employee side, it's like, okay, well, in my mind, I got to calculate. That means I got to leave this much earlier. I need to accommodate for that, and that puts more hardship and strain on my personal life. And I remember when I was at that company, the software developers were the nighttime IT support, and which sucked because like I had no idea what anything was, and like I was sitting there, and I basically had to just keep asking everybody else like what the answers were. I mean, as everybody did, and I don't know, like. I think they're doing a lot better now, and they've even expanded. Like that was more like around the liquor industry, and now they've expanded into cannabis. And like I would have definitely been much happier being a software developer in that kind of setting. It's also feeling good about the mission statement. Like I didn't feel good about myself helping people drink more alcohol. Like, I mean, I felt good that I was helping people do their jobs and pay for their kids and like support their families. But at the same time, having seen the destructive nature of what alcohol can do, and usually often will do, given the chance. It's not like it has like a mind of its own. Like that whole argument, like guns are dangerous. Like I put my gun on the porch. There's that one meme. Like I set my shotgun on the porch. I even put a bunch of shells next to it, and lo and behold, it didn't shoot anyone. Like several kids walked by, like parents, dogs, families, didn't shoot a single person or anything. So I guess it's not the guns. And that's an oversimplification of the dangers of like, well, no, it's the ease of access to those. But anyways, that's a whole nother realm. But as far as what I got excited about today is, so I've been talking with some people, and I think the hippie farm is the way to move forward. It needs to happen, but it needs to be done right, and it needs to be done carefully. And part of the reason I stress out, and not really stress out, but like I fixate on this so much, is because growing up I knew a lot of people that worked in corrections, worked in prisons. And then I also know a lot of people that were on the receiving end of that, like had to go to prison or, halfway houses or farms. There's this place up in northern Colorado called Harvest Farm where you're not even allowed to use tobacco. And it is ridiculous. Like I hear so many bad stories about that. But I mean, I get it. It's a nice thing. Like, yeah, if we can get them tobacco free, but what people don't realize is you're forcing more hardships on somebody who's already having a pretty horrible time and not much sympathy. And, oh, but they're a criminal, they're a felon, like they don't deserve much sympathy. It's like, well, no, I mean, you make a mistake, you don't put a kid in timeout for a day, like we've never done this until like for some magical reason we do this with people that make mistakes as adults, and it's like, oh, now you're going to be like on paper for several years, you're going to have to jump through these hoops, and it makes it really easy to break other laws and rules, and especially like because stealing, that's always been one of the biggest thing that just makes me upset, like is when somebody steals from someone else because they're imposing hardships on that person that person wasn't even close to prepared to handling. So now you just made a horrible situation for them just to make your own situation slightly easier. Anyways, and that's why mushrooms, like addiction, because the biggest thing with that is somebody is actively addicted to some substance, usually meth, I mean, coke a little bit, but I feel like not really. Like that stuff, yeah, it's addictive, but it's not to the point where it's like you would like turn around and steal from someone or whatever, or like, whatever the case may be. And synthetic meth, Adderall, is kind of up there too. Like it's kind of addicting because it makes you feel like, oh wow, I'm so smart and I'm so accomplished, and it triggers these chemicals in your brain. Like, and if used right, yeah, it can help you focus and all that. But really, stimulants in general, like, Starbucks is enough. Like that's a good stimulant that's perfectly legal, and like it's a lot harder to abuse, and it's not. Well, yeah, it's legal. Like that's the biggest thing is you don't have to be sneaky about how you procure it or anything. You just go to a Starbucks. But the problem with that, the barrier to that is it's expensive. It's like at least $5 a coffee, no matter what you do. $10 if you want a fancy cup, like and it's like more of like a treat at that point. And so that's kind of more. It's where, on average, it's more of an exclusive solution that wealthier people can afford. And I don't know. And as I say this, a lot of people are understanding this. This is nothing new. Like people are starting to connect these dots. And so I think what we need to do is just make it to where it is so cheap to live that anybody can live like a king or queen and be comfortable and at the same time not offend or be offensive to other people. Like do it in a way that people can get on board with. Be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. Like if we just made everything cheap or free, but obviously that can't happen because then we have to pay people to do the things. So, and I don't know. Like we're definitely getting there. It's a slow way getting there, and the people, usually the haves, are a lot less likely to transition to these types of things. And then the have-nots are all excited because they're like, yeah, wait, you mean like I don't have to live this harsh life and do these things? Like, you know. So yeah. And we're doing it on a global scale too. Like we are working, people is what I mean by the royal we. Like humanity is working very hard to try to fix everything. And these last few things, like, well, the couple of wars going on right now and then the threat of nuclear war, but and religion too. Like if there was better communication in religion and acceptance and tolerance, then, and also the realization that almost every religion is about the same. Like most religions, like give respect to a creator, our creator, whoever or whatever created us. The differences and the place that people split hairs is who that creator is. Like the Arabic on the Saudi flag says there's one true God, Allah, and one true prophet, Muhammad, because there's so much animosity and bad blood between Jesus and Muhammad. Like not necessarily those two people particularly, I don't know if they ever interacted directly, but the people that follow them are like, wait, no, this is what I've been taught, and this is what we need to respect. And then, other people will disagree because it's like, no, this is what I was taught, and this is what I learned. And that's why I loved when I lived with Saudis in college. We would just sit and talk about this stuff. We'd be like, so wait, is this okay to do? And is this bad? And they'd be like, yeah, no, that's still bad. Or no, this is, and we come to find out that it's almost the same thing. Like, it's like, oh, well, yeah, we don't do that either. And they're like, huh, that's interesting. And because a lot of it's accidental. In fact, most of the evil in the world is accidental. Nobody intended for it to happen. Like a car crash. Nobody intends for a car crash to happen, yet it happens all the time for whatever reason. Then we address the factors that lead up to it, mostly alcohol. Like that's one of the biggest factors in all car crashes is alcohol because it is so hard to function. Now, granted, things like Adderall and stimulants, like they tend to negate that, which is kind of scary in itself because then you're playing doctor with your own stuff. And mind you, a lot of the people that are doing these things don't have regular access to a doctor or a therapist. And they might just assume that all of this is just bad stuff, when in reality, you can alleviate a lot of pain and hardship by fixing certain things in your life, but it's how you get there. Like, you need the support to be able to do that, even if it's just someone patting you on the back and be like, "Yeah, you got this." Like, and that, not everybody has that. The kids that grew up with their parents in jail or dead, they don't have that. So like, it's harder, and then that breeds animosity towards the haves. Same thing, because it's not just money in the haves and the haves-nots. It's emotions, love, support, stability. Like, even if it's real or perceived. Like, if you feel stable, you could be the poorest person in the world and feel happy and comfortable as long as you have like a parent or a family member nearby to just be like, pat you on the back and be like, "It's all right. We'll get through this. It'll be all good." So, I don't know. It's hippie farms. So, my next step, and yeah, I got to go here in like 5 minutes and get to work and do some things. I got some projects I'm making some major headway on, and I need to. There's always something to do. That's why I love tech. Is like, you're never really done. It's like a video game that never ends. Some of it's fun, some of it's bad. Like, overall, it's all rewarding. But, uh, yeah, I don't know. So I'm gonna write a letter to Ben and Jerry's and see if they want to get on board with it. Because really, all it takes is like, I got the people. There's a company to make the buildings, the houses. Fading West, they make houses like this. Although I'd like to talk to them and try to negotiate a garage. Because if we could start putting garages on these units, or if they could start putting garages on those units, then I think that would be really helpful. I mean, because like, I don't have enough money yet to get like a house, but I did get a new car, newish, and I can't have that outside. It's going to deteriorate, lose value, and all that. And it's like, I'm investing a lot of money in that car. And so, I don't know. I mean, and we need to empower the people and the organizations that are actually doing the best good. Like, there's a lot of people out there because everybody's racing basically to, you know, go fix the world, fix the problems. Like, and it all starts with like, do we have enough food? Did we get enough sleep? Do we have enough love in our life or support or care? And if these things are met, like I go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs a lot. Like, it all comes down to, do you have enough for what you need? For your ego to make you feel confident and comfortable, like to even function. I mean, because if that's lacking, then you might try to do some shortcuts, like, oh, I could drink this drink or take this pill or this powder and then be superhuman and be able to accomplish all these things. And while, yeah, that might be true for the short term, and I learned that with a prescription to Adderall. Like, yeah, it's amazing stuff. It'll get a lot of stuff done, but at what cost? Like, your health and your happiness starts to go down. But yet you're a machine. You're just working and doing all these things, and like, and that's where also leadership is involved too. Because at that time when I started to like go nuts a bit, like, I know that's not like the appropriate term, but it was. I was mentally unwell for a while. It was a temporary thing, and it wasn't. It was a trifecta of not sleeping enough, not eating a good healthy diet, and working too hard. Or I mean, even just working normal without enough sleep and food is working too hard, because you're just pushing your body to where it's like eventually just gives up. It's like, no more, I can't do this. And so, I don't know. And that's why there's also so much animosity for anybody who's gone to college versus not. I mean, that's one of the biggest things I noticed between the two parties. And when I talk to my friends back home, like, I mean, there's animosity because it's the haves and the have-nots. It's all sneeches. Like, either you have education or you don't, or you might feel like you don't have a good education because you didn't like go to a formal institution. Yet you've got plenty of education in your field or your trade or what you do. Like, you're probably a lot smarter than most people about what you do, because that's just what humans do. So I don't know if that makes sense, but either way, I have some direction. I'm gonna do that because all it really takes is like, and I need to reach out to Habitat for Humanity and see what's possible. I've got quite a few people on board with this. I've been talking to some old people that like I used to play football with, and like we already do a football camp back home in BV, and like now I think, and I just started. I went to the first one this year, but I'm gonna start doing that every year. But like, if I can round up, enough football people to be like, hey, let's build some affordable housing with, let's like work with these people, Habitat and Fading West. And then you've got a bunch of people that are like, yeah, I could do this. I mean, I'm not going to be the best. Like, probably some teenager football player is going to be more able than me, but I can still swing a hammer. I can still do things. And I loved building houses back when I did it for a little bit. It was really fun work. Like, you felt good after a day of doing that work. Like, you worked hard, you lifted a bunch of heavy things, you pounded on a lot of things, and like, that's part of why I love the wind turbine thing too, because I did a lot of like the transport and like tearing things down and building things up and getting things ready. I don't know, a lot of tasks, kind of like this game. Like, I'm doing a task right now, gathering a bunch of wood so I can build houses and fuel and all this, and that's all life is. It's just a series of tasks and task completion. The administrator of humans, or the administrator of people. Kind of think about that, because religion does kind of serve in that function as well. Like, that's why church is still such a big thing. Like, it's because it has this community of people working together and helping each other, whether it's just advice or support, or comfort, or whatever. And I do miss some things about the church I used to go to growing up. It was a nice place. I mean, it was also kind of boring and also like a requirement. Like, and since we had to drive half hour just to get there and then half hour back, it was easily 2, if not 3 or even 4 hours of my Sunday that was just shot. And it was just like, man, now I'm going back to school. And then in school, I don't get to do what I want to do because they got an agenda that they need us to do. And, so thankfully everything everywhere is getting easier. Communication and education is just getting so much easier to do and to receive that, yeah, the friction is being reduced everywhere. I'm going to start doing that again too. I think I mentioned last time that like I started doing more coding game clashes of code, and that was just really fun. Like, I felt really accomplished. Like, I did great on like a couple. I did horrible on one. Like, I didn't even figure out how to do it. I looked at other people's code too, and I still just couldn't wrap my mind around how to make that particular pattern. But, you know, anyways, yep, it is time to get to work. So here's a super short one, but in fact, there's the alarm. It is now working time. But basically, I think we're going to get close to ending this whole playlist, and then I'll try to start a new one, because we're at, 45 episodes of a half-hour things? So that's like, a good 20 good hours of me rambling about things. And my idea with all this is like, by the time you see this, it'll be, maybe years down the road, and I'll have already done a lot of this stuff. Like, it'll be kind of funny. Be like, oh, remember when he was talking about this? Oh, yeah, now he's doing this. Or now, this benefited from this. Hopefully not too much, oh, this was a dangerous thing. Okay, yeah, before I go, though, let's talk about that real quick, because even that, like, debating legalizing adult work like yesterday with those people. This woman was calling me a pervert and all this, and saying anybody who uses Pornhub is like evil and a pervert, and Pornhub traffics people. It's like, well, yeah, it's a big communal site, just like Xbox or XApp, Facebook, you know, even Instagram. Like, you don't get to pick and choose who uses it, and there can be problems like that, and you might not know. It's not like they went out and intentionally, like, themselves, not like Nike and sweatshops where they knew what they were doing and like, hey, this might be bad. It's more like, at least from what I understand, I'd have to go read the article, but like, from what I've heard, it was more of like a thing, like they found out something was happening and then they shut it down. Then they had to pay money for it or something because their site allowed it. And even though they have the user agreements, like, don't do this and don't break the law, like, hardly anybody reads those. And then like, a lot of times they won't hold up in court for just that reason, because people don't read them. So it's like, it should just be generally understood that don't break the law. These are the laws. And as long as everybody's on board and on the same page and they don't take shortcuts, like, because I think a lot of that traffic even, and also there's a shortcut in understanding too, because that lady was saying it was like child sex trafficking, which that's not a part of Pornhub. You have to be 18. Like, anyway, sorry, that's getting way off topic, but like, communication could solve a lot of that issue. Like, this lady was basically equating me to, like, I don't know, some crazy, like, some of the people that I tend to not hunt personally, but I fully support hunting people that are preying on kids. Like, that's like the worst, the lowest of the lows. And I would be perfectly happy if I never heard about that happening ever again. Like, and same with even just like 18 too. Like, if you're too old, like, there's a creepy factor that needs to be adhered to. And no, I don't know. Anyways, I digress. Have a great day, everybody. I'll probably be back on tonight. I'll provide an update, a status update. But as it is now, I've got the online voting thing. That's pretty much done to for now. All I need to do is put that in front of the right people because I can make a database. I mean, I'm not great at it, but like there are people that can make a database really easy and link it to social security numbers if they're already in the government and they already do this. And so it would be taking existing infrastructure, digital infrastructure, and then just adding a web server that displays the results, a hash generator that doesn't even matter. Like you can salt it and make it way more secure, like with some random thing. And then once we have that, and then the biggest part is just trust of the people. Like if you can get people to understand it and feel comfortable with it and trust the system, and that's easy to do with this type of online system because you could show people, be like, okay, here's how many registered voters we have, here's how many actually voted, and here are the votes. Like these are live votes, and every one of them can be audited and traced. And now it's not going to be traced by some lunatic that's like, oh, they stole the election, or oh, they're lying about stealing the election. It'll be traced by calm, collective IT people that could care less either way, that are only there for the facts and like, oh wait, this is a dead person that voted. How did that happen? Go send a cop because that's like fraud. We need to go arrest whoever did the fraud. Like that's fine. I think everybody can agree that that's fine. Like you shouldn't be cheating. So that's a shortcut, and it undermines our democracy and it makes us look foolish as a people. So, and then if this system works, everybody in the world can do it. Because guess what? The whole world has internet, computers. Like we're very quickly filling in the gaps. And I know people directly, and I guess people working with people high up in some of the tech companies that are doing exactly that. Okay, actually, look at the Bill and Melinda French Gates Foundation. Their main mission right now is digital infrastructure for countries like India and Africa's not a country; it's several countries, but like anywhere where it doesn't exist. And then we're even revamping our internet in like more established areas like here, and the gap is closing. So we're no longer having like hardship. So anyways, I gotta go. I gotta get to work. So have a great day, everybody. I will see you later today when I get back on. Ta ta.